What's up guys, it's Kyle24 back at your screens with another fantastic tech video, and yes, today I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 13 Pro. I've been lucky enough this time around to be able to pre-order this little bad boy and have had it since release day, so I've had a good opportunity to now play around with it, test its features, use it as my everyday phone because it is now my everyday phone since I upgraded from the iPhone 12, and basically with that I can now bring you this comprehensive review of the iPhone 13 Pro. And I've got the iPhone 13 Pro in this wonderful Sierra Blue, and this is the nice new color that Apple have introduced with this iPhone Pro model, and it is very nice looking. And so I'm going to start off straight away with the design, and yes, it is very similar to the previous iPhone 12 and 12 Pro models. Like, they look pretty much identical for the most part. There is very little difference between them in terms of the design. However, this iPhone 13 Pro model does come in this nice Sierra Blue. You can see that this little camera module here is a camera bump, as they call it, is a lot bigger, and that's because these cameras on the Pro models have been upgraded quite significantly, and I'm going to get to that in a bit. And just like last year's iPhone 12 Pro model, this does have that same matte finish on the back, as well as that glossy aluminium finish around the sides, which, you know, I thought originally that I wouldn't really like it that much, you know, considering that I liked the matte finish around the sides on the base iPhone 12 models. However, in this one, I quite like it. It's quite nice. I like the matte back because I prefer not having 1001 fingerprints come up every time I use the phone, especially if I'm going to use it caseless, which I do every now and again. So it is a good thing for me that it's a matte back and glossy sides. However, the glossy sides do get a little bit of fingerprints on it, and I do kind of see myself wiping off a little more often than I would like to. However, side by side, you can see there are some slight differences, as Apple will always introduce, with the power button being slightly lower down on the right hand side, and again the mute button as well as the volume rockers being slightly lower down as well on the left hand side, and the SIM card tray being pushed up a little bit. And the iPhone 13 Pro model is a lot heavier than previous year's model, as well as the, you know, in comparison to the iPhone 12, when I'm kind of using them side by side, this honestly feels like a toy. It's just so light, and this is a lot heavier, it's a lot chunkier, but I like that feel in my hand. I like that nice kind of grippy feel. It's got that little bit of weight to it, which I quite like in my phones. I like having them heavy. I used to use the Android phones before, and I would always opt for the kind of max level. So I had the Galaxy S20 Ultra phones, and, you know, I liked the bigger size phones back then, and they were a lot heavier and kind of nicer to hold in the hand. Well, I say nicer to hold in the hand, but they felt kind of heavier in the hand. I prefer that. So this being this heavy, even with the kind of compact size that the iPhone 12 Pro model comes in, it's nice. I haven't held the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but I can imagine that it's slightly heavier than this as well, and as well as being slightly bigger, obviously. But all in all, design wise, I quite like this. They have reduced that notch at the top. As you can see here, the notch at the top is a lot smaller noticeably. It doesn't really give it a lot more screen real estate. Like, they haven't really added anything extra in to that extra space. However, just having that notch in a more compact space is nice. The fact that Apple still have the notch when most other phone companies have kind of gotten rid of it is still something. But you know, personally, I was never a big fan of the notch when it came out, but I have since kind of grown to become accustomed to it using the iPhone 12. So using the iPhone 13 Pro and the notch being smaller is a significant difference for me. So yeah, all in all, the design is fantastic. I love the phone in my hand. I love how it feels. I have no problems with it being so kind of edgy and straight. I like this in the iPhone. I didn't like the curvy iPhones, you know, from the 6 onwards until I think the iPhone 11, when they had the slightly more rounded edges. I didn't really like that. I really like the design of these newer iPhones. Anyway, moving on and away from the design. Now, in terms of performance, this thing is absolutely fantastic. It does have Apple's new A15 Bionic chip and features iOS 15 and all the features that iOS 15 come with. I'm not going to make this a technical review, so I'm not going to go in depth about every single one of the features. However, it does come with a few changes that I really like, and one of those being ProMotion. And what I mean by ProMotion is it is that newly introduced 120Hz variable refresh rate that Apple have introduced into their Pro model phones. It is only available on the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Anyway, when I picked this up, I noticeably saw a difference when using it. It is a lot smoother and it is a lot crisper to use. It's just faster. The variable refresh rate basically means it can jump up to 120 Hz, but can also, the screen refresh rate can also go down to as low as 10 Hz, and that basically gives you an overall smoother experience when you are scrolling through and using your phone, and texts appear crisper, the motion is just a lot smoother, and when you compare it side by side, you can see the clear difference between the iPhone 13 Pro and the previous, or any other iPhone model which had the previous 60 Hz refresh rate. You can see how much crisper and smoother the iPhone 13 Pro with ProMotion is, and it just feels faster and nicer to use. And I do like having that in this phone because I'm used to having the higher refresh rates from using the Android phones in the past, and now having this available in an iPhone is actually quite good. So that's definitely one of the winners in my eyes. Again, the display on the iPhone is absolutely amazing. Again, I'm not going to go into the technicalities, but when you look at the display live, I don't think the video does it justice, but when you look at the display live, it is much brighter than the iPhone 12 models. It's a lot crisper, it's higher resolution and higher quality, and just overall a better display. Now, moving on swiftly to the features everybody is kind of hyped about in these iPhones is the camera. As you can see, the camera bump on these iPhone 13 Pro models is much bigger. They're quite big and chunky. The cameras themselves have been updated significantly, and they are a lot better. They give a better quality pictures, better quality videos. The phone is coming with the 3 standard cameras that iPhones come with. You've got your wide angle camera, which is your standard camera, then you've got your ultra wide angle camera, and then you've got a 3x zoom telephoto camera. Now, the telephoto camera is not as impressive as you would imagine. If you compare it to something like the Galaxy S21 and the 21 Ultra, then it falls shy by quite a bit because it doesn't have that 100x zoom that you get from those kind of phones. However, that 3x optical zoom does produce quite good results overall. Now, moving on to the wide angle camera, which is your standard camera, again, it's much crisper, much nicer, higher quality. There have been significant upgrades to the camera, and it just takes really good pictures. And with the ultra wide angle camera, which is absolutely fantastic quality, and one added feature that they've added is a macro mode. So these ultra wide angle cameras can now go and take macro photography. Now, it's a bit of a gimmicky kind of feature. Now, how often are you going to take macro photos of things really close up? Way to use this macro mode is basically just take your camera in standard camera mode and go close up to an object, and if you're within that 14mm range, then it will automatically switch the camera to the ultra wide camera, and that will give you access to that macro feature. So the camera quality for photography is overall much better with the upgraded sensors and the upgraded cameras. Now, the one thing that everybody is talking about for these iPhones is the cinematic mode for video. Now, this is basically just like portrait mode but for videos, and what it's doing is it's producing the artificial background blur in your video. So this is the first time a phone camera has been able to reproduce that kind of an effect in the video mode, where you're getting that intense bokeh in the background when you're recording video. And not only that, but you can switch between subjects and focusing on subjects. So if you're going to focus pull on a subject further away and then refocus on a subject that's closer to the camera, just like this, then you can see that in cinematic mode it does that whilst you're recording video. And not only that, but you can change this in post as well. So if you're recording something and you see something in the background during post editing in the phone that you want to change the focus onto, you have the option of doing that even in post editing. So that cinematic mode is basically something that's going to be fantastic for content creators who want that background blur, or anybody who wants to play around with making films on their iPhone. Then they have access to this new cinematic mode. It's not perfect, it's still got a lot of refining to do. However, it's definitely still a feature that's worth trying out. Now, one other thing in terms of video that's coming to the iPhone 13 Pro and the Pro Max is Apple ProRes. Apple ProRes is basically one of the highest quality video codecs that is available out there right now. However, it's still not available yet. Apple are going to be introducing it later on with a software update. So we're still waiting for that. We're still waiting to see what that's capable of, because you can record up to 4K footage in Apple ProRes, which is basically insane. It's going to give you ridiculous quality footage. So I'm waiting for that to come out. Until then, the main focus kind of does remain on the cinematic mode. I've got an entire video coming out on cinematic mode and how content creators can make good use of that to create their content essentially. And so do keep an eye out for that, and if you're not already, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when that video comes out. Now, another thing I want to mention is obviously the battery life. It's something that every user is going to be worried and concerned about, especially with all of these new features such as the 120Hz refresh rate, all the new features that's added in terms of the camera and the power of the camera, the power of the processor. You're gonna need good battery. Now, The battery life in this thing is actually fantastic. I managed to get over 7 hours of screen time with battery to spare using the iPhone 13 Pro, and I think that's fantastic. Being able to get over an entire day's worth of use from your phone is obviously something that everybody wants to be able to do. Now with the iPhone 12, sometimes I did struggle nearing the end of the day. I'd be kind of running out of juice, especially if I was going to be going out in the evening or doing something, or I'd be out and about and I'd kind of be running low, and I'm using my phone a lot, especially going on long journeys and stuff like that, and I'm watching stuff on my phone, or I'm listening to music, or I'm doing things, and I spend a lot of time on my phone doing all these random things just like everybody else does, and running out of charge maybe halfway through the day or 3/4 into the day isn't really the most ideal thing to face. However, with the iPhone 13 Pro, I have not faced that problem yet. So far so good. So that's probably one of the best features of the new iPhone 13 Pro is its battery. Now, a couple of things obviously that I really don't like that Apple haven't included in this phone is, number one is the USB-C slot. It is still using a Thunderbolt charger and a Thunderbolt port, and I really don't like that. Pretty much everything else is using a USB-C nowadays. Apple themselves are using USB-C in all of their other devices such as the iPad and their MacBooks, so why don't they have the USB-C in the iPhone? I have no idea why they're not doing this. Apple, you need to fix up. Please add USB-C to your iPhones, because it is just so much more convenient to have the one wire that connects to pretty much everything and not have to carry around a separate wire specifically for your iPhone to charge your iPhone. It's just really inconvenient. Now, another thing that I was really hoping for is for Apple to add a fingerprint sensor onto maybe the power button. However, they still haven't done this. They've done it with their iPads, but they haven't done it with their phones. I don't know why Apple is so against using fingerprints. To be honest, it doesn't really bug me that much because the face unlock is super fast and it really doesn't fail me. I can unlock my face even in the dark, so it pretty much does its job as it should be doing. And the last thing is fast charging. Now, really, this isn't a big issue for me because, well, I chuck my phone onto my MagSafe charger overnight and it does its thing overnight. Charge it, so I've got full battery in the morning and I can just use it throughout the day. However, if in case I want to give it that extra boost in the middle of the day, then I want to be able to charge it much faster than it already does. Now, it does have pretty decent fast charging. However, when I'm talking about fast charging, just like MKBHD said in his video, I'm talking about really fast charging. Like, I'm talking about 50 watt plus fast charging, something similar to what OnePlus and other companies are doing with their phones, providing massive fast charging bricks with their phones. Well, Apple don't even give a charger anymore, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. I want proper fast charging in these phones, and Apple still haven't provided it. However, who knows what the future holds. Every single phone that Apple brings out a couple of minor upgrades, and that's basically how it's going to continue being. It's always going to be a small upgrade, but these small upgrades add up to being much bigger upgrades in the long run, because that's how they refine their phones, and that's why their phones are doing as well as they are doing. And that's pretty much it in terms of my review of the iPhone 13 Pro. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the iPhone 13 Pro or just the iPhone 13 range in general. I personally really have been enjoying using this phone. It's a fantastic device and I completely don't regret upgrading from the 12 to the 13 Pro. I'm hoping to put this to a lot more use in terms of content creation, so do keep an eye out for any content that I create with the iPhone 13 Pro. I'll make sure that I label it clearly so you guys know exactly which of my videos or which of my parts of my videos are filmed with the iPhone 13 Pro, so you can see for yourself the quality that this thing delivers. Now, that's all from me today, guys. I hope it helps you make a decision as to whether you're going to get one of these iPhone 13 Pros or whether you're going to just upgrade to the standard iPhone 13, or just stick with what you've got because you're pretty much happy with what you've got anyway. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and until next time, this is Kai24 signing out.